Hi guys, sorry I haven't posted in a while. I haven't really done that much on the house except for the front deck, which I've finally finished, and I'll show you that in this video in a few moments. But things are starting to get a bit busier. We did put some air conditioners into the bedrooms during summer. It was just too hot and humid. So I had to do a bit of preparation for that so that the electricians could install them. And I was doing that work in this space here, and it got me starting to think a little bit more seriously about the insulation above the first floor and insulating the walls here up on the second floor, I guess in this area in here too. So I'll be starting work on that in the next few days, and I'll keep you guys updated in the videos. I've also decided to insulate the roof, so that's all part of the plan. It's going to take a while, so all of this will be a follow-up to the winter in a Japanese house video from earlier this year, trying to make the house a little bit warmer. And as part of that, we're also starting the ball rolling on replacing the old single pane aluminium windows throughout the house. Another project I've started working on is the kura roof, the veranda roof there. A lot of you had a few things to say about the blue tarp. Yeah, I was not a fan either. So I've actually taken that down already, and I'm going to rebuild that roof as soon as I can. Things are definitely getting a lot busier, so I'll have a few updates to show you guys over the next few months. Now, onto that deck. When I left you last time, I'd just finished the permanent section of the deck. If you recall, we wanted to be able to disassemble this section here in case we wanted to service or remove the EcoCute boiler. Because the concrete base was uneven, I needed to measure and cut everything as I went along. Once I was happy with everything, I then sanded and stained the pieces. I use butyl tape to help with waterproofing between the deck boards and the joists. The way I decided to attach the removable deck board section was to glue in some threads using epoxy, and then I can just slide the deck boards on and off, in theory. I'm sure there are better ways of doing this, but I think it will do, and I don't really imagine that I'll need to remove the deck boards that often. For those of you bothered by the algae on the outdoor unit, I'm cleaning it off now. I consulted the boiler instructions for the minimum spacing around and above the unit, and I then allowed a little bit extra. Since I'm attaching the boards from below, I don't really need to be 100% accurate with the spacing and the placement of the screws, as they won't be visible. I hadn't really considered how heavy this section would be, so I decided to cut it in half. Though this was probably unnecessary because, I can manage like this, or I could ask my wife to help me, as we won't really be taking them off that often. I also found out that I could attach a hose to the bottom of the outdoor unit so that the water drains away from the concrete. Now I just need to make the bench section that covers up and hides the unit. Japan would be a 10 times better place if there weren't so many bloody mosquitoes. When making the planter boxes, I was able to use a lot of the offcuts from the deck boards. For the longer pieces, I cut to a little bit longer than I needed, as I'm going to be cutting them more precisely later using the miter saw. With all my builds, I usually make a cut list using free online cut optimization software. I'm making the frames for the planters pretty roughly here, not exactly high level craftsmanship. I'm staggering the joints so I can simply drive a screw through here without hitting the other screw. I'm making 2 of this size and then I'm making another 2 of a slightly taller size. You'll see why later. I cut the side pieces after making the frame to get a more precise measurement, as things don't usually go to plan. I started off screwing and gluing on these side pieces, but I didn't really need to glue, so I only did it for the first one, and then afterwards I didn't bother gluing. These are the longer pieces that I cut before, so now I'm trimming them down to their correct size. It's not exactly pretty, but these screws will hardly be visible when the product is finished. To be honest, I made a bit of a mistake here with the design. This planter box was supposed to fit all the way in, but instead it rests on the frame there. But it works, so it's turned out okay in the end. So the taller planters are going to go at the end of the deck and act as a kind of barrier, while these shorter, wider ones are going to go on top of the bench section. I used scrap wood for the base sections too. To reduce the amount of water that goes onto the deck, I made these drainage pipes using hose connectors that I had lying around and attached them with epoxy. My mother-in-law planted some marigolds here for us, and now I've just got to finish off a few more little bits and soon I'll be done. I was going to use hooks to hang the boards onto the screws there, but it didn't work as there wasn't really enough space. So I ended up just using another screw. I think it should be fine, but we'll see. I'm not putting boards here because I'm lazy, I mean to increase airflow. It won't really be visible anyway. Kochia was introduced to Japan centuries ago and is a popular plant in Japan. My mother-in-law gave this to us from her house. I'm not sure if we can keep it here because this is a north-facing wall and doesn't get much sun. So if anyone has any recommendations for shrubs or plants that don't require much sunlight, please let me know in the comments. So this has taken me about a year on and off to finally complete. It's taken so long that I probably need to soon go back and re-stain some of the old deck boards and the handrail, but I probably won't for a while. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support the channel or are interested in extra content, feel free to check out my Patreon, link below. Otherwise, I'll see you soon.